All right, so in this video, we are going to go over daily number 3. Go ahead in Canvas, open up assignments, and click on daily number 3. The first couple questions are vocab, and these are the same vocab words that we've worked with already. The fixed amount of money that your job pays you for each hour that you work. So what is your pay for each hour? That one is your hourly rate, how much you get paid per hour. The total amount of money you earn in a regular pay period at the regular hourly pay. So remember, anytime we're talking about your regular pay with your regular hours, we're talking about your straight time pay. That's your regular pay at your regular hours. The total amount you're paid during a pay period, that is your gross pay, your gross income. That's how much you take home. No, don't quote me on that. Sorry. That's not how much you take home. That's how much your check is. We'll talk about how much you take home later on when we start doing taxes and all that. Your gross income is how much you're actually paid. Next, when you work more than the regular number of hours, you might earn overtime pay. Overtime is anytime you work over your regular hours. The overtime rate is usually time and a half. The overtime rate is usually time and a half. Remember, that's the 1.5 we use to multiply. If you work on a Sunday or a holiday, your employee might actually pay you double time, meaning you're going to multiply your rate by 2. All right, so all those are just vocab. Make sure you get those correct. That's 7 free questions you should not get wrong. All right, so this one, number 7, I'm also certain we've already worked that out on an exit ticket. So on number 7, make sure you get your answer correct on that one. I'm actually going to keep going. 8, 9, and 10. Now, I'm not going to sit here and do these calculations for you because we all have calculators and we all should know how to use them. You should have a calculator. I didn't say that at the beginning of this video, but I should have. You can't do this math in your head. I can't do this math in my head. You may actually do it by hand, and actually, let's do the first one by hand. But most of us, let's just grab a calculator and make sure we get these answers correct. All of these questions, 8, 9, and 10, are asking about the straight time pay. We've already talked about straight time pay. It's the number of hours that you work times your pay rate, your hourly pay rate. So on this question, this person gets paid $9.51 and they work for 4 hours. You multiply them to figure out their total pay. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. Carry your 2. That's 36, 38. And our decimal is moved over twice, so I'm going to move it over twice. This is the answer that you type in. You don't have to type a $sign. You're good to go. You're going to do the same thing for all of those questions. Your hours times your pay rate. The one thing I will say is be careful when you type in your answer. You should not have to round on any of these. If you do, just make sure you round correctly. Also, just look at number 3. That's not number 3, that's number 9. If you don't work any hours at all, do you get paid? No, it's not that complicated. Just write 0. All right, so 11, same thing. Calculate your straight time pay. You multiply. It's not a big deal. Number 12. I want to do number 12 because this is one of our newer questions. Number 12 says Stephen is a mechanic. Stephen works and earns an hourly rate of $36. His overtime is time and a half. Last week, he worked 37 hours plus 8 hours of overtime. So this question is asking for his straight time, his overtime, and his total. So that's what you're going to type for your answers. There's one for each. All right, so first things first, let's do his straight time pay. Straight time is your hours times your pay rate, your regular. So regularly, Steven gets paid $36 per hour. His regular hours is 37 hours. That's what it tells us. He worked 37 hours. So we're going to take those. He got a great pay rate, by the way. $36 an hour is not bad. You're going to take those two numbers and multiply 36 times 37, and you should get 1,332. Next, we need to find his overtime pay. So first things first, we need to figure out what is his overtime pay rate. Remember, it's going to be more than what he already gets paid. In your calculator, you're going to do 36 times 1.5 to figure out his pay rate. You should get $54. So he's making $54 for any hours overtime. It also tells us that he works 8 hours of overtime. So he makes a total of $432 just off of his overtime hours. That's not even a lot. Oh, it's not even a lot of overtime hours. That's a good amount of money. Last but not least, it says find his total pay. You're going to add his straight time plus his overtime to give you a total. And I am honestly not going to write the correct answer. I'm about to write the wrong answer. That's because I want to see who's actually listening and doing this on the calculator and doing this on their own versus who's just copying me. So I'm going to write this down. And I know that it's wrong. They're the right numbers, but they're not in the right order. All right, so that was number 12. 13, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to do on 14, 15, 16. Okay. Well, it looks like we're going to do the same on the rest of them. So I'm actually going to make sure I stop after a certain, I don't want the video to get too long. But we're going to do those same steps over and over and over. All right, so let's do Rick's example. Rick is paid $18 an hour for a regular 35-hour week. So Rick's regular week is 35 hours. His overtime rate is 1.5. Good, time and a half. He worked his regular 35 hours, but he also worked 8 hours of overtime. We're going to find Rick's total pay. First things first, let's do his straight time pay. He makes $18 per hour regularly, and his regular hours is 35 hours. Rick makes a total of $630. Next, let's do his overtime. Remember, for overtime, we have to take his pay, which is 18, and multiply it times 1.5. Rick's overtime pay is $27. He works 8 hours of overtime. That means that he makes $216 for overtime. To find his total pay, you're going to add those two numbers together. So Rick's total pay, once again, I'm going to write the incorrect answer. If you're doing this with me and listening, you know what to do to get the correct answer. If I add his straight time pay and his overtime pay, you're going to get a total. I'm going to write the incorrect answer, like I keep saying. All right, number 14. And this will be the last one for this video, and then I'll go ahead and cut it. Number 14, as a caseworker, Bonnie earns $13.47 an hour plus time and a half for weekends. So her overtime is time and a half. Last week, she worked her regular 40 hours, and she also worked 8 hours of overtime on the weekend. What is her total pay? So it's kind of like the same thing we've been doing on all of our examples. First thing is find the straight time. It's her regular pay, which is $13.47, times how many regular hours did she work? It tells us her regular hours is 40. So we're going to multiply those two. That's going to give you a number. Next, we need to find out what her overtime pay is. That means you take her regular pay and you multiply it times 1.5. That is how you find her overtime pay. Once you find her overtime pay, you're going to multiply that by how many hours of overtime she worked, which is 8. That's also going to give you a number. We've already said to find the total pay, you're going to add these two numbers, and that's your total pay. All right, I just said I was going to cut it. So 15 through 20, I'll go ahead and do on another video.